All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you, everybody, for joining our Halloween special mastermind session um, and coming today. It's very much appreciated. I hope everybody's having a really great Halloween so far. This is our class that we're calling Cast Your Spell with Starlink with a Witch's Brew of Opportunities. On our call today is me. I am the CEO of iTelecom, Adam Cole, our Client Success Manager, Berta Johnson, our Inside Channel Manager, and RJ Donato, the Director of Solution Development and Integrated, who is the carrier that allows us the access to sell the Starlink solution. So I'm just going to do a few things with you guys to get us going, and then I'm going to hand the call over to RJ, who's going to dive more into the technology and the solutions available through Integrated for the channel. So everybody in this call is pretty familiar with iTelecom at this point. We are a leading technology solutions architect. We are committed to providing you guys the support and the training that you need to sell these solutions and to continue to provide the service that your customers know you for and to bring you the best possible solutions. So with iTelecom and our agent program, it's really important to us that you feel empowered so that you can get back to selling solutions, while we're really managing everything on the back end. Everything that we bring to you is a vetted carrier. We are not a TSD that just signs everybody up. We vet carriers through a process that takes many, many months before we bring them into our portfolio. We support you, with our nationwide tech dispatch. So anything that you sell through our company, we can provide, feet on the street, a technician going into your client's site to assist with any hands-on or smart hands that you might need. We want you to think of us as an extension of your staff with a customized quoting structure, and we're always going to provide ongoing training to our agents. So today on our call, we have Integrated, and Integrated is going to be going over their Starlink offering. And Starlink, I'm sure everybody's very familiar with it. I, personally would have loved to have Starlink, back in my day. I had a remote log cabin where I could not get, internet access. And had I been able to get internet access at my log cabin, I might not have had to go to the theater to see a show. I could have just streamed it right there. So I'm sure it would have been very beneficial for me. And I know that it's going to be beneficial for your customers. The features of Integrated, competitive and customizable solutions, over 100 carriers in the US and Canada, a nationwide install team available, and their biggest differentiators, especially for your larger clients that have offices maybe scattered across the United States, is that project management piece that they have spent so much time on. It has won our agents many, many deals when your client sees how well they manage the project that they have sourced through Integrated. They also provide proactive monitoring and support for the services and solutions that they're going to bring and install at your client sites. On top of that, just as a reminder, iTelecom has a nationwide tech dispatch ready for you. We have two different, billing models for that. We can bill you directly for it, and then you can bill your customer, or we can bill the client directly, and then you receive a, standard commission on that dispatch. We service customers anywhere at any time without you having to hire the staff, or learn about, finding a technician in a city you've never worked in before. We can support all different types of, tech rollouts. You just let us know and we'll bring, the appropriate people to the table for you. So without further ado, I'm going to hand the call over to RJ, who is going to do a presentation on the Starlink solution and Integrated in general. So here you go, Nerd Pool. Please take it away.
Thank you, Mike. Pleasure to meet everyone. I'm RJ Donato. I'm the Director of Solution Development at Integrated. We have on our call Gary Bernard, one of our account managers here at Integrated. And I'm going to share my slide real quick just so you guys can see it. I don't want to do a death by PowerPoint, but I just want to make sure we show you some things here. And I'll give you a little bit of a Starlink dashboard demo as well. Please let me know if that's coming out okay. I'm trying to put it in presentation mode. How is that?
We can see it, but I don't know if it's in presentation mode.
It is not in presentation mode.
Now it is. You're good.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So just a very quick intro to Integrated. We've been around for 20 years. We're on year 21. We have a national presence. We have an international presence. We are better known as an internet aggregator. We have wholesale agreements with hundreds and hundreds of different providers. And one of our claim to fames are if you have a local provider that isn't one of the big whatever, and we can bring them into our paper and wholesale them to you and to your customers. So no matter where it is, we always guarantee that we can get you internet somewhere. This is just a very high level overview of all of our services. Being an internet aggregator, we do everything network. We don't go down to the desktop. We go, but we do have firewall security. We have a very great voice offering. We'll talk about the SD-WAN. And then we've been servicing Starlink for probably 2 years now. And we have literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dishes installed around the US and in a lot of foreign countries. So we can do international Starlink. Some of the caveats are we're a US-based company. Our NOC is in Dallas, Texas. Our NOC is US only. We outsource to nothing. So when you call Integrated for support, you're going to get a US-based Dallas person answering your support call for your customers, and within just several rings. Okay. Perfect. So Starlink itself, some of the differentiators, we are also a Viasat wholesaler as well, but there's a huge difference between a Viasat and a Starlink offering. Starlink is what's called a low orbiting satellite, where Viasat is a high orbiting satellite. Thousands and thousands of feet difference in where they are in orbit. That allows Starlink to deliver you a connection with only 20, 25 to 30 milliseconds of latency. And that is tremendous, especially when you want to use voice applications somewhere in the middle of nowhere where you can't get any other internet. Starlink requires hardware for each installation. Integrated, we are an authorized, what we call an authorized Starlink solution provider that gives us access to purchase equipment and manage it for you, as well as manage your Starlink services. Starlink comes in two different types of business plans. There's a fixed plan and what's called a mobility plan. The fixed plans are your typical. You're going to put it on top of a building. You're going to put it on a trailer. You can put a construction trailer. You might even want to move it. But when you move it, you just call our NOC and say, I went to this location. We redirect the address and Starlink comes back up in that location. But there are many applications for Starlink as well. So the other offering is what's called mobility. If you can think of you're on a moving van, you're even in an RV, you have a mobile command center. We have it on luggage movers at airports. So the next time you look at you're looking outside your airplane and you see one of those luggage charts going around, there might be a Starlink on there. So Starlink provides internet access for people on the go and people that are constantly in motion. That's the Starlink mobility plan. So that allows us to deploy Starlink on ships. We have cruise ships, we have yachts, we have ocean liners, and then, like I said, we have luggage movers, semi-trucks, command centers, mobile vans, anything you can think of that needs internet access, Starlink can provide it for you. Now, Starlink itself is typically what we consider a broadband service. And you can see on my slide, it said Starlink speeds up to 290 down and 35 up. Those are what they call preferred speeds. You actually might get higher, and a lot of times you might get actually lower. But Starlink stays around that 200 meg download. Who wouldn't want 200 meg download in the middle of nowhere? I mean, we literally have it in diamond mines, oil facilities like solar plants and drilling areas. So they're getting Starlink where 4G can't be had, 5G is nowhere in sight, but they have 200 down and 35 up. They can do multiple Teams calls, and do anything they need that a normal business office could do. There's two types of hardware for Starlink. There's what's called a high performance flat dish, and this is part of what Integrated does for you and your customers. We help you determine what hardware you actually will need or can use on a site. There's a differentiating price, but there's a reason for it. I have another slide to show you here in just a second. But Starlink has what we call a flat high performance dish. Those are the ones that we typically put on a moving vehicle because it can track 4 to 5 satellites at a time, so you don't get any internet drops as you're moving 100 miles an hour, down the street. Everyone obeying the speed limit, of course. But we literally have ocean vessels out there. They don't move very fast, but they get Starlink everywhere. And then we have what's called the Enterprise and a standard dish. It's a much lower offering. It's in the sub 1,000 range. People who need to move it a lot, like portable move it, put it in a case, take it out of a case, put it on top of their van on a magnetic mount or something like that. They can get a lower cost dish. The biggest difference is weathering. So when you're out in the middle of the ocean, you want a dish that can sustain like high winds. If you're in Texas like I am, you want to make sure that tornadoes, it'll survive a tornado type winds. We get 100-mile-per-hour wind gusts in here. And the high performance dish is rated for 174 miles per hour. We have a lot of companies in Florida who are doing it for hurricanes. That's the type of places you want to put that dish. Let's skip one more. Okay, so here, and we'll send the slide deck out through you guys through iTelecom so you guys can see that. So just a quick comparison for your view. Take a screenshot, but of course we'll send you that as well. So Starlink can be installed just about anywhere. We do need clear view of the sky. Everything in the United States is pointing to the north direction. We have virtually any type of mount that you can think of to put on top of a flat roof, to put on top of a sloped roof, to put it on a wall. Like I said, we have magnetic mounts that can go on a truck. We have suction cup mounts. We can devise a solution for everything. And that's what the value of Integrated is. We put the solution together. We like to say that we bring everything that Starlink doesn't bring you from a solution perspective. When you go to Starlink, there's no phone number to call. There's only a web-based support team at Starlink. You submit a ticket and you maybe wait a day, maybe 2 days to get the answer that you hope you want, but then you don't really get it and you have to follow up and go through the same thing again. Whereas with Integrated, our 24/7 NOC, you call one of our NOC techs. They know everything about Starlink. They'll get you up and running, get your stuff fixed, whether it's a billing issue, a technical issue, we need to realign the dish, whatever needs to be done. Our NOC is a live support call for you. Also, from a solution perspective, Starlink just gives you the dish. That you can order it online, ship it to you, but that's about it. With Integrated, we put our full project management team behind every installation. So we treat Starlink like it is a circuit. If you would order a broadband circuit or a fiber circuit or anything else through us, Starlink is just treated like that. That means it goes through our service delivery team. It goes sales, service delivery team. You get it installed, and then we roll over to our NOC and engineering teams for support. So you get from day one, you get full service, you get full Integrated as part of your extended team. On top of that, Starlink also we take what Starlink has today and we create enterprise service levels for it. Starlink doesn't give you a static IP, for instance. So in an enterprise world, a lot of your customers will need static IPs, but not just one. Maybe they need 5, maybe they need 15. So we need to put a solution together to satisfy that. We're a major partner with Big Leaf Networks, Big Leaf SD-WAN. So we have very aggressive pricing structures for Big Leaf that we can ship Big Leaf's device with your Starlink service and get you that 1, the 5, the 15 static IP addresses. And no matter how many internet connections that they have on site, that entire installation, it has static IPs, whether it's Starlink, 4G, 5G, fiber, whatever it is. So did I have a pricing sheet on here? I apologize if I didn't. I'm going back. Sorry, guys, for this. Okay, back to this. So Big Leaf itself, without going into a lot of details on pricing, $129 to add onto your Starlink dish. It's a very aggressive price. These pricings are typically $300 to $400 if you were to go out and procure it today. So we have a very strong deal with Big Leaf to help this, especially for our Starlink offering. If Big Leaf isn't the proper SD-WAN for you, we have VeloCloud. We even have a technology called Peplink Speed Fusion. We are a Peplink authorized provider. When a single Starlink getting 200 down and 25 up isn't enough speed for you, we have customers that are ordering 5 Starlinks at a single location. So five Starlinks of download and upload speeds, all bonded together into a single internet connection, can do wonders for companies who just can't get fiber or any type of broadband service, but they need higher quality or higher throughput at a particular location. On top of that, we can layer full security offerings that Integrated has on top of that Starlink and that Big Leaf or that VeloCloud solution. And go back to my last slide. Also, Integrated has multiple ways of monitoring your Starlink service. So a conversation that we can have, whether it's Big Leaf, Velo, we can put a managed router out there, or we can just use customers' existing equipment to do monitoring. I put this slide together just so you can see some of the different types of installations that we have out there. Roof-based. This one particular one, if you can see my mouse, this is what's called a non-penetrating mount. There's no bolts in that roof, so nothing to compromise. It's just a cable needs to go into the building to get power, and then we can install on a wall, and we can install on a roof, just using just our mounting equipment. And every order is treated as a separate order, so we will go through where the building is, where it needs to point to, what's the proper mounting equipment that we need to place on there. And I would like to open it up to questions. I probably went pretty through that pretty quick for people who need some technical questions or even some follow-up on implementation.
Yes, we have quite a few questions here. So let me scroll back up here. What is the typical time frame for installation for Starlink?
So Starlink itself, so we, being a authorized provider, we stock Starlink dishes in our office. As fast as you can pay for them, and as fast as iTelecom can get a dispatch out there, that's as fast as it is. I think, have we done 3 days at them? Is our fastest?
We've done pretty fast, yes.
Yep.
So a typical non-rushed install is going to be 2 to 3 weeks. Usually the lag is on the customer side, not the carrier side. Getting us the information required to do the installation. Obviously, knowing what we are getting into on the installation is always helpful. It might be that the customer themselves hasn't been to the location that we're installing the Starlink at, and Tech Dispatch needs to go out there to do a site survey to determine, what is necessary to put the dish up. All of those things, need to be taken into account. But all things being equal, about 2 to 3 weeks. If it's a rush order, we've had them in 2 to 3 days before. So again, a lot of factors go into that, but as long as everybody's on top of what they need to do, 2 to 3 weeks on a typical Starlink install. So RJ, what about cloud cover? How much does that impact the performance?
So the only thing that really impacts Starlink is water droplets. So getting the signal through. So very heavy storms, very heavy rainstorms, full cloud, rain-based clouds, there might be a little bit of obstruction there, but it does not disconnect service. It just impacts service from a quality perspective.
Gotcha. Thank you. And then Steve asks, what about the relationship between all three of the companies that are being talked about today? Steve, so iTelecom, we're a TSD. We have the agreement with Integrated to sell their services. We have also worked with Integrated for, I don't know, like 8, 9 years now. So we are, know their project management process and their team. We are also responsible for the tech dispatch to go out to the site, which is another service we offer to put the dish in and work with the local customer on implementation. Okay, I answered that question. Okay, we answered. So another one, what is your experience with path loss during snowstorms and rain? I think you kind of covered that a little bit. I'm here in sunny, Pasadena, so don't have to deal with the snow issue very often. But in, customers who have, more extreme weather events, can you speak to that a little bit on the snow side?
Yeah, so we have several customers installed in Alaska alone. So lots of snow. The issue is getting the Starlink dish installed properly above the accumulating snow line. So 3 feet, maybe 4 feet minimal. Starlink dishes themselves have heaters built in, so they will melt snow and ice. So those get turned on automatically. They get set to automatically, or we can just keep them on 24/7, depending on where the dish is there. So we just want to make sure that when the snow is melting off the dish, it doesn't accumulate over the dish so that it blocks the obstruction. So that's why it's very important for us to get the height of the Starlink installation.
The next question we have is, so Gertie kind of answered this in the chat a little bit, the process for international clients. So in order to sell internationally, we do need to have a US-based company to invoice for those international services. However, the process, other than that, is the same as the, process for a US customer. So how does the Starlink manage? So I think you talked about this a little bit in your presentation. So Craig asks about, who deals with the rooftop when a 60-mile-per-hour wind hammers the Starlink antenna or tears them off. So Craig, the actual Starlink devices are proofed for, one is up to 100 miles per hour wind. I think the other is 175 miles per hour. Is that correct, RJ?
Very close, yep.
So they're built, Craig, to manage that type of wind resistance. If we're having something over 175 miles per hour, we'll have to cover it then, but that shouldn't happen very often.
And we can be very strategic about how we mount Starlink dishes. So if you're on one of the coasts, and generally you have mostly the east to west facing wind, we can put it on one of the sides of the buildings pointing northern to make sure that that level of wind doesn't hit it. Some buildings have walls that extend above the roof line. Strategically place it there, pointing north there. We have several mounts that have arms that physically make sure the dish doesn't move north, south, east, or west. So we get very strategic during the install process.
Thank you. And then Steve also asked, can you discuss the portable equipment and deployment considerations for first responder type operations?
So Starlink mobility is typically the plan that first responders will go to. It's basically the ability to move that dish on the fly anywhere, whether it's 100 feet down down the line or a mile down the line. We typically would just deploy what's called a standard or the enterprise dish. It is a little bit more portable. There are carrying cases that are soft carrying cases, hard carrying cases, and even backpacks that you can store that into. We have customers that will have maybe a small lithium phosphate battery to power that equipment. And so it can be really portable, or you can just plug it into a cigarette lighter type inverter. So there's so many different ways to carry this mobile.
So Joseph asked about the term agreements, and Adam did respond in chat, but just so everyone is aware, the term agreements are 12, 24, 36 months. There is no month-to-month option on this, as far as I'm aware. Steve, any contract for this service would be done through Integrated. They would not be signing a contract with iTelecom. They signed a contract with Integrated for this service, and then Integrated would pay iTelecom commissions, which we would then pass on to you and your team. Let's see here. So yeah, Steve, we are, so they're ordering the service, the equipment from Starlink. Any additional equipment, obviously they could source as well, or our on-site team could also assist with sourcing additional equipment to install. But as RJ covered, they've installed so many different versions of this in different configurations with their project management team. They've seen almost everything as far as is concerned, but a majority of the equipment is sourced from Starlink. Is that correct, RJ?
Yes, and so we purchase directly from Starlink, so we stock them in-house. We do have the ability to warehouse equipment, dedicated equipment for companies if they want to order 10 dishes for just to make sure that they have immediate access to a dish. We can accommodate that.
Steve, so yeah, most of the folks on this call are agents or technology solutions providers or MSPs or IT consultants who are looking to sell Starlink to their end users, whether that be, a doctor's office somewhere that, can only get one, primary carrier data connection into their site, and they're looking for, a really good failover or load balance solution to go along with that. A customer that has remote locations that, doesn't have service from wired providers or 4G or 5G. So this is, selling to businesses, and the folks on the call are agents who are the consultant to those businesses. Matt Gardner's asked, how does a cruise ship ensure that the dish is, so how does a cruise ship ensure that the dish is always pointing north?
So it doesn't have to technically point north, but that is Starlink's preferred point in the United States. When it's mobile, it does not matter. So Starlink has dish rotations, north, south, east, and west. It does impact service quality the further the satellite is you're connecting. But cruise ships have arrays of Starlink dishes. We can bond 16 to 20 Starlink dishes together, so that if any one of them is just goes offline or has a really bad signal, there's still 19 of them in the array. So that's how they get away with advanced cruise ship internet service.
Anthony Johnson asks, Starlink is low elliptical orbit, and the receiver has to have clear line of sight. What about birds' nests, etc., from a maintenance standpoint? Who has the responsibility and how is it charged? So Anthony, that's a good question. So for example, one that I like to give is I had a customer who installed a service that needed line of sight, and then a new business opened up next door, and it was a plant nursery. And on the fence, connect, the two businesses shared, they put up all these very large palm trees that were then blocking that line of sight. That doesn't happen very often, that line of sight is lost like that. But, obviously the customer does have to bear some responsibility, to let the carrier know, hey, something is now obstructing the view and we need to figure that out. But, RJ, what would you respond to that with?
Yeah, so just exactly that. And Starlink just needs a point northern. So whether we have to move that 20 feet in one direction to get to that, uh, we just need to dispatch someone out there to get that done.
Great. Did you want to cover this page that you have up here, RJ?
Yeah. I just wanted to show everyone the actual Starlink portal. One of the differentiators that we have is that we give customers access to the Starlink portal itself, the native portal. So this will be their view. So for every dish that they have, they'll be able to see the statistics for their dish and see what their data plan looks like, how they're using it. Of course, we use API to give that information out as well through email and through our Salesforce system. So there's, but this is the go-to that is pretty exclusive to solution providers like Integrated.
You're on mute, Micah, just in case you didn't know.
Thank you. Are there any other questions before we move on? I believe I got to everybody's question in the chat. If I didn't, feel free to post it again. I want to give everyone just a minute or two to post commission rates. Okay, yeah. So, okay, yeah. So, Steve, we will certainly provide line cards to everybody after this call. You'll see an email come out from iTelecom with the Prezo as well as the line cards. Commission rates. So everybody who signs up as an agent with iTelecom, gets their percentage rate, and then we get a percentage from Integrated, I believe based on the term. Is it based on the term length or so based on the term length, and we'll make sure that we get all that out to everybody with the email that comes out, so you have it all in one place. Any other questions?
One last thing to tell everyone is
Yep.
we can, I'm more than happy to get in front of your customer and explain Starlink just like this presentation. We do it every day. We're very customer facing. Use us for Starlink internet services, whatever Integrated offers, we can talk and demo for the customer.
Steve, we have a nationwide, to answer your question, we have a nationwide tech dispatch. So we have technicians in pretty much every major city. There might be a few smaller cities that we might have to hunt somebody down, but we've installed services all across the country at this point. Integrated, RJ or Gertie, did you want to talk about Integrated as far as like who you are, at your core and, your size and, how big your knock is?
Gertie, would you like to speak?
I think Gertie may not be able to.
Okay.
All right, because she's not a presenter.
Right.
So Steve, what we'll do is we'll send out because I know Integrated also has like a sheet about who they are and how big they are, how long they've been around. They've been around for over 20 years. iTelecom's been working with them for over 10 years. But they can send out those specifics and we'll get that for you in the email we send out. Or if you'd like to schedule a call with us, we can do a specific call with Integrated and all the different things that they do.
Yeah.
I
It's
will
quite a
also
bit.
be following up personally with everyone that attended the call. So if you have any questions that you come up with later today or later in the week, feel free to jot them down and I'll get them addressed when we follow up with you directly.
Yep. So before we go, did you want to do our raffle, Britta?
Surely. So for everyone that attended, I have all of your names here on a little spinning wheel, and I'm just waiting to see which screen I need to share so that you can see it. Let's see if I can do this. here. All right, everyone see the wheel? And Mike, I think we're good on $50 gift cards.
Yep.
All right. So
You
we're gonna
didn't
give
pre-approve that?
All right, so we've got everyone's name. Our first winner, Jimmy Zenner. I think Jimmy was in. Oh, Caesar Montoya. Sorry, look, that was a close call there. Caesar, that one's coming to you. I'll follow up with you afterwards to get your information. So we've got our first winner, and number 2. I won't jump the gun this time. Congrats to Matt Gardner. All right, so Matt, I'll give you a shout in a little bit, and same with Caesar. Thank you everyone so much. Does anyone have any last minute questions?
Great. So I'll wrap us up here. Want to thank everybody on the call today. Thank you for being a part of our team. As Britta said, any questions, please reach out to her. RJ will also be available for questions if you have any. We'll be sending out, a packet of information to everyone, and Britta will be following up with everybody individually. Thank you so much for joining for our Halloween mastermind. And just to kind of put a period at the end of it, don't be scared to sell Starlink.